Hi, I'm Trooper Smacka.
Hi, I'm Trooper Wellman,
Please stay tuned for a behind-the-scenes look at being a state trooper.
and together we can make a difference.
Here we are with a special edition of Trooper Talk. We have Sergeant Campbell and Lieutenant Zink from Clark County School District Police. Thank you very much for being here.
Thanks for having us, Neil.
for being here.
Thank you.
So let's start and talk about you, Sergeant Campbell. We do the joining forces, and it's something that's very passionate. We've met on Charleston Boulevard where you had somebody running across the road, and we met when you had somebody on the bridge. Talk to us about your motorcycle and what it does for you and all that type of stuff.
Sure. As you said, I'm the sergeant over our traffic unit. We have 4 officers and myself assigned to the unit. Our primary function is to go to school zones and make sure that the kids are getting to and from school safe and they can make it to the doorstep of the school and back to the doorstep of their house every day. We try to slow down the vehicles, looking for different violations up from speeding and reckless driving and people under the influence, U-turns, anything that would make it unsafe for a kid to cross through a crosswalk, or any other parent, staff member, etc. We're just there for presence, primarily, and then to educate some of our drivers on why we need to slow down and be safe near our kids.
And so, we think about school, right? And we think about, going to school in the morning and all that type of stuff. You don't think somebody's going to be impaired, right? And so you don't think that somebody's going to speed through a school zone where you know that it's blinking lights and it says slow down, right?
You would be very surprised that that's everything. It's the opposite of everything you just said.
Yeah,
and
so
Mike can go into that more than better. He's got the best knowledge of all of that. But,
Right. We have over 350 locations, schools, properties that we go to, and over 300,000 students. You have thousands of people going through multiple school zones a day, and whether it has flashing lights or not, if the signs are well posted, you're going to see a group of people, a large group of people, mostly kids and their parents, and that should be a sign regardless if there's lights flashing or anything else. If you see any large amount of people on the sidewalks, like at a sporting event, like they're going to a Raiders game or a Golden Knights, people should be slowing down and just being, more cognitive that some of these people might cross into the roadway, things like that. On Halloween, we talk about people slowing down because there's going to be more people on the roads. These kids are going to be in the school zones every day. So we're just hoping that, through our education on our Facebook page, doing things like this, being on the news, anything just to get information out to take care of our kids, because they're number one to us. Is sometimes the kids don't necessarily know that they're doing something wrong. They don't know about jaywalking. We try to do a lot of education through Safe Routes to School, does a great job. Every other department, we put on safety events and rodeos just to try to get kids buried out of their phone. It's like device down, head up type things, and just to reduce how many kids are hit by cars, how many fatalities we have across the entire state and in southern Nevada. We're tirelessly trying to change the behavior of drivers on the roadway.
Yeah, and the thing is that it's very passionate for you. It's something that you really believe in.
Absolutely. All of us at our department have dedicated our law enforcement career to the protection of our staff and our students, primarily our students. And I think one thing that'd be very important for Mike to touch on would be like the number of students that we've had hit going to or from school, not necessarily in our jurisdiction within the school area, but still it could be in the neighborhood down around the corner from the school. And then also we've had a huge increase in fatalities in Clark County primarily this year. We're probably about 10 higher than we were last year, and that also includes pedestrian fatalities as well. So Mike, where are we at right now with kids being hit to or from that we track?
With ones that we know about, and that being said, is they have to report it to us for us to know about it.
Yeah, right. Okay.
We're at about 40. 5 of those are pretty serious. This time in 2010, we just did a crosswalk event with a turkey and a crosswalk, And we say something like, if you can't see a turkey or a chicken or Santa or whatever costume they're wearing, you're not going to see our little ones trying to get safely across the road. So that time in 2010, at that same exact location, they had about 20 pedestrian fatalities in southern Nevada at that time in 2010. Now we're at about 60 in 2022. So our infrastructure hasn't gotten that much bigger. There's not that many more people than there was in 2010, but our fatalities are through the roof. And that transitions, we've luckily, I don't believe during school hours that we've had any fatalities involving a kid walking or riding his bike. We have in the after hours for kids that go to our schools, which is extremely unfortunate. But we're lucky that nothing has happened during school times, and we're attribute that to our patrol officers, our campus officers, our motorcycle officers, our K-9 just being present, because being present is a huge deterrent.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I also have to give a shout out to Clark County and the city of Las Vegas, because they are making huge improvements on pedestrian safety. There are a lot of roadways in southern Nevada that were horribly unsafe. Boulder Highway is a prime example. If you drive down Boulder Highway, it's definitely not the Boulder Highway it was 5-6 years ago. You drive down Charleston Boulevard between Fremont Street and Las Vegas Boulevard. Again, lots and lots of infrastructure changes, putting up pedestrian safety zones, pedestrian lights, things like that. So we, as the law enforcement and the governmental agencies of Southern Nevada, are doing our part, and what we're always begging is for our drivers to do their part.
Yeah.
Slow down. We all know how it is on these roadways. You could walk out right now here on Jones and Flamingo, and probably within 2 minutes, Mike could probably ping a car with his radar gun, probably going in excess of 15, 20 miles per hour over the speed limit. This is a roadway. It's not a highway. It's not designed for that. You don't have the visibility that you have on a highway when you're going at those speeds, because you've got buildings, you've got driveways, you've got signage, you've got pedestrians, you've got so many other things going on here that these roads are not designed for that kind of speed. And if for some reason people have just simply forgotten that. These are roadways. They're not highways, you know? Yeah. So like I said, it's a community event to bring everybody together. When you sign for your driver's license, you're basically signing that you understand that if the sign out front says 35, that's the speed limit. That's as fast as you are legally allowed to go. You can't say, well, I was only going 5 over. If you get a ticket, you get a ticket. It's up to the cop whether or not they're going to exercise their discretion or where they're going to write that ticket. But that's the maximum speed limit. We've all signed it. We all get our driver's license. I think every single state you sign that you understand what it is you just got to test on. So it's to the point now where, you know, tickets are being written, you know, and it's all for public safety. It's not for quotas. We get no money from any of the tickets that we write. Mike could go out and write 1,000 tickets right now. Guess what? We get no money from that. All that money goes to the courts to keep the court system running. We get $0 from that. So we always hear this as like, oh, you're trying to beef up the coffers, or you're trying to meet a quota.
Yeah.
There are no quotas. There's no coffers. We get nothing out of that. So it's all about public safety. That's the prime goal. If you get a ticket, it's public safety, and that's what Mike and his guys are out there hammering or working on every single day.
And we went, Johnny and I, we drove the car, and we went when they had the leprechaun. And it was amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in this big leprechaun suit, and they're walking across the road, and these, like, you know, I mean, and it was just amazing.
Yeah.
And so, and this wasn't a school zone, but it's still the same point.
We were on Boulder Highway, and we almost had a pedestrian hit by a semi-truck. I mean, literally, if the person would not have grabbed her, she would have been hit. We had like 3 different news channels where they were filming when all this happened, and I think our decoy hadn't started walking across the street, or he was possibly across the street, and this woman just walked out of her apartment. She was on her way to work and was just stepping out, and this semi just blew right through. The guy got pulled over, and I'm sure he got many tickets, but that's just it. It's like, pay attention. Boulder Highway, the speed limit's 45 miles per hour. It's not 65 miles per hour. We all understand we've got places to go. Traffic here is sometimes terrible. And what do we always say, Mike? Plan ahead.
Yeah,
Plan ahead, especially if you live in a neighborhood with the school in it. You know that there's going to be anywhere from 350, or it's a high school, up to 3,000 people coming into your area trying to get to that one location for about half an hour. That's usually about all it takes, is a half an hour. So we always stress, please plan ahead. If you're running late, call your boss, tell them you're going to be a few minutes late. Don't try to drive fast through the school zone and get there, because, you know, ultimately you could end up with a ticket or hurt somebody.
Yeah, and I think about the fact that, you know, we were all kids once, right? And so, you know, not everyone is of 12th grade, right?
Right.
You know, we're talking about little kids
Right.
that, you know, not that we don't have the wherewithal, but, you know, we're looking at our phone, we have the backpack, we got the school report, you know what I mean? Like all these things, and all of a sudden we're caught off guard, and that's where you step in.
Right. And we say, just as much as we say to the drivers, we say it to the pedestrian and the cyclist.
Yep.
We have to work together.
Absolutely.
It's not just all on the drivers. It's not, you know, every fatality is everybody was in a crosswalk, you know, unfortunately. It's both sides.
Yep.
And he says it's a community event. I mean, we really have to all work together. This is police, this is fire, this is all of our community members, our kids, our parents, anybody. If you see somebody doing something wrong, you could try to take a second and teach them. But I mean, we're calling on our parents to teach your kids how to properly use a crosswalk, not to teach them to cross and jaywalk across in the school zones, because they're just chaotic, but they're chaotic for about 15 or 20 minutes. So if you can do it right and just spend an extra 2 or 3 minutes walking down the street to the corner using the crosswalk and showing your kids, being role models and leaders, this is the way to do it, and this is the way to do it safe, even if you have to go out of your way.
Right.
I mean, now if the crosswalk is a mile away, a reasonable person's not going to go half a mile or a mile to get to that crosswalk. Just don't walk out and where there's all these cars. Wait for the cars to clear.
Right.
You know, and that's just a reasonable and prudent thing to do. And you're going to see it on all these major roads, as a lot of the infrastructure he's talking about is being built and put into effect because it wasn't there before.
Right.
So there was nowhere to cross on Boulder Highway, so people are just taking their chances and running across the street.
Yeah.
Now we have crosswalks, we have protected medians, we have lights that flash. I mean, there's some up in the northwest. We just did our crosswalk event where the lights are flashing to make it more apparent to drivers, hey, there's a crosswalk coming up. You need to slow down and figure out what's going on. And a lot of these improvements, they don't cost a lot, but the ultimate cost is saving lives. And that's what the city has done a great job. The county is doing a great job. Department of Transportation, Nevada Highway Patrol, everybody's on board to lower these numbers.
Yep.
Our ultimate goal is zero fatalities.
Yeah.
And we talk about that all the
All the
time. What's
time.
our ultimate goal is to have 0 every year.
Right.
And that's just something that we're going to have to keep pushing and keep working for and to get to, because I think it is possible.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's what I think. You know, we all have to work together.
Yep.
And so by doing these type of things, by talking, by communicating, you know, it really brings that out.
Absolutely.
You know, the Clark County School District Police, they're always looking for people to hire, right?
Yep. We are currently hiring brand new police officers, so people with no experience. We'll pay for you to go through the police academy. You'll be paid to go through the police academy. We're also hiring what are called lateral police officers. Those are officers who possibly have left an agency and they're moved here, or people who are interested in moving here, as long as you're certified in a state where we have reciprocity, meaning that your post-certificate or whatever certificate you have can transfer into our system. Or if you've recently retired from a law enforcement agency, we're a great second career. We have people that'll retire from another agency after 20 years, and then they'll come here and do possibly another 20 years and get that double pension, which you can't beat. But it's a great transition job. We have people that are locally within law enforcement that whatever agency they're working for might not be the right fit for them, so they'll come over to our department too. And also, we're also hiring police dispatchers. So all that information can be found at the school district's website, which is ccsd.org, and you just look under employment, or on our Facebook page. I think Sergeant Campbell just recently posted a hiring thing where there's a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and it'll take you right to the hiring page. We'll list out all the requirements and things like that you need to do to get your hopefully your law enforcement with our department started.
And, you know, you and Lieutenant Zink, you do the Unity Tour.
Yes.
And so tell us what that is and why you do that.
The Unity Tour is just an awesome experience. It's a very unfortunate event that happens because it's because of when officers die in the line of duty. We're riding in their honor. We start in New Jersey. The chapter that we ride with is Chapter 7 through Southern California. We start in New Jersey and we ride to Washington D.C. over 4 days, and it's just under 400 miles, so it's almost like 100 miles a day. But we're able to honor our brothers and sisters that paid the ultimate sacrifice. And we get to spend time with their families, talk with their families, honor them at the wall in Washington, D.C., see and hear all the names each year that are going to be put on the wall, and those are all the officers that died that year. And anybody that hasn't had the experience just to be in Washington, D.C. during Police Week, to hear the names, to see the family members, I mean, it's a very emotional
Yep.
roller coaster. Being there for the family is our number one goal, and riding in their sons or daughters or uncle or aunt or father, mother's name
Yep.
is extremely important to them, because every name that gets put on that wall, and there's thousands, we try to ride for them so nobody forgets who they are.
Yeah, it's a very emotional, and while you're sitting there riding it, you're just thinking about yourself. Sometimes while you're on the ride, it's like, why am I doing this? Oh, I hurt, I ache all over. You know, it's hard. You know, and for those of us from the desert, going and riding in the humidity of the, you know, that part of the country, very beautiful. Again, it's amazing. But as soon as you start riding through downtown Washington, D.C., and people are cheering with signs and banners thanking you for being there, and then when you ride into the memorial, just the families there, and then when you actually see people from Southern Nevada that you know who've lost loved ones, they're there. It's just amazing. It was probably one of the highlights of my law enforcement career. Very happy that I got to do it with Mike, and we've got another one of our friends who's a retired North Las Vegas police officer who's going to be joining us from Vegas with our little group this year. So it's very, very emotional, very powerful. And it's something that I'd always dreamt about doing. Never thought I was going to be able to do it, and then met up with Mike and his friends from Michigan, and we made it happen.
And so one of the things that we talk about in the Trooper Talk is to be able to go into the life of, you know, someone in law enforcement, so that, you know, they could see. And so my question to you is, so you know that you're going to ride on behalf of someone that day.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah,
Okay.
we rode for Lieutenant Eric Lloyd last year and Micah May from NHP last year. They were the bracelets that we wore last year into the memorial.
And so you wake up in the morning, you have breakfast, you know, do whatever you do in the morning, right? And then when you're riding, like, do you go through thoughts of your own immortality?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean,
Like what you face at work, that someone could take
Yeah.
your, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, talk to us about
I
it.
mean, it is. It's one of those. It's what we all have in the back of our head. It's something that we don't like to think about. We don't like to talk about with our families. But you just never know. I mean, once you put on this uniform and we walk outside, that could be the last day we leave our house. But it could be the same for anybody. But for us in law enforcement, it's a little bit different. But you know, we just, you know, try to stay positive, keep our head on a swivel, and continue to try to make positive community connections that we do with you and all the other wonderful organizations that we work in. And you know, we're here to serve the community because we care about our community. We're passionate about our community. That's the only reason why anybody really goes into law enforcement nowadays, because you're not going to get rich. You're not going to get, you know, fanfare and parades and stuff like that. It's like you have to do it because you care about your community. And then those of us in the school district, it's because most of us, probably 90% of the members of our department, have kids in the school district. We have family members that work in the school district. We're married to principals, assistant principals, teachers, people like that too. So it's very important for us to be here because we get to work with our friends. We get to work protecting our kids and our family.
And so talk to us about you. You know, I mean, so you're doing this. You brought him in, you know, because it's something so passionate to you, right? And so most of the time, you know, when we talk on the Trooper Talk, you know, about the badge, that, you know, we always want people to not be afraid of it.
Right.
Right? We always want people to see it and know what it is, and to give the respect for it, right? So talk to us about you, and, you know, why you have that badge on, and talk to us about why you thought it was so important to bring Lieutenant Zink into the Unity Tour.
I grew up with officers in my family. My dad was a police officer, so it was just something that I saw where not only was he able to help his community, but he had, it just seemed like like he had respect from his community because of the efforts that he put in to make it a safer place. Like you said, you're not going to be a celebrity or make a lot of money, but you're going to make a difference if you want. If you want to be involved in your community, we do with the Shopping with a Cop that's coming up, fill a bus for kids that just can't get toys for Christmas. And if you can remember as a kid, getting a certain toy for Christmas from your parents. And whether you came from the most prestigious family on down, where I grew up kind of middle of the road, there are toys that I remember. There's toys that I remember I didn't get, but it doesn't change that much. I mean, it's being together with family. And when you have family that are law enforcement and you mix that in with the holidays, I mean, it's just great. And we get the opportunity to do that with our kids, to give them a special Christmas that they might not get. And it's nothing of their parents' fault, you know, so we're just trying to make things special. And that's those types of things where we try to get officers to come out and donate their time. And when I was a younger officer, that was hard to do because you can't see the other side of things so well. But when you end up having kids and seeing other families and little ones that are not as, I'm thinking of the word, they're not as fortunate enough to get the same type of Christmas.
Right.
I mean, we're trying to fulfill those kids' dreams of having their family with them, having a nice Christmas and being safe. And that's, like you said, it's just being part of your community, working hard. That's been huge for me. And I didn't have one event in my life where traffic safety became important to me. It just kind of happened.
Yeah.
And now it's my goal. It's my baby to have the traffic unit. I'm extremely passionate for kids' safety. Zink can tell you sometimes I'm blowing up his phone, and I need more people, I need more money, I need more equipment. The end goal is just, I mean, if we can take that passion and put it forward into something positive, and I try to do that. I mean, you have your bumps and bruises here and there, but that's my biggest thing. And then to get involved in the Unity Tour, it all kind of happened by chance, really. I ran into some guys in Michigan when I was just out cycling by myself. And I had a little mechanical issue with my bike, and I was fixing it, which Zink will tell you that I have mechanical issues all the time. I just have like bad luck with my bike. But I'm working on the side of the road, and I had two retired Michigan officers ride up that I didn't know were police officers or retired officers at the time. And they asked if I needed help, and then they had seen a tattoo that I have on my arm that they identified me as a possible law enforcement officer. And then we just got talking for a couple minutes. I rode a bike ride with them, like 20 miles. I said, hey, can I tag along with you guys? And I've been really good friends with them since, and that was almost like 3 years ago now. And I rode with them all summer because I might have family back in Michigan. And they were talking about how they're going to go and do this Unity Tour, and they do another one in Michigan that the Michigan Cops organization puts together. And it just sounded awesome. Not only do you get to ride with your friends and you get to do something that you love, but it's like a whole nother aspect of it where you're doing it for a purpose. It's not just to get out and be healthy or get out and clear your mind, because cycling can really, you spend 50 to 100 miles on a bike, you're going to probably think about every single thing that day that you could possibly think of 10 times. And you probably have it figured out by the end of the ride. And we do that 4 days in a row. So we're treated like celebrities when we're on the ride. We get hotel, and we raise all the money ourselves for donations. So all that money supports the ride, probably a quarter of it, and the rest of it supports the families that lost a loved one who made the ultimate sacrifice for their community, their state, their city, etc. So it's a great experience. I could say that law enforcement you can easily become jaded, and you can see all the bad things, because that's what we deal with. We deal with normal people that are at the worst stage in their day, over and over and over. So that, for our aspect, is that we're dealing with bad, over and over. So this gives us a chance to see the good, to see other sides, doing our community policing, reaching out to kids and helping them, doing the bike ride to assist our families in law enforcement. And it's been a full circle for me. Starting with something that you just don't know if you're into it that much, and then it just becomes part of your life. And that's what this Unity Tour is becoming, is that these people that I meet on these rides are becoming my best friends, my family members. And just last thing about it is, like the Michigan ride, they do a thing where they have like a circle of trust, where we can sit down and talk about experiences that we've had that we don't necessarily think that we can talk with maybe our family members
Sure.
or our friends or
Coworkers
maybe they
at
won't
work.
understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they added that portion in it, and it's extremely powerful. The amount of
Yeah.
weight that is pulled off of your
Yeah.
back instantaneously.
very
just
emotional.
talking to someone and having them listen to you.
Well, and I think in that experience too, I think we learned that a lot of the same people that were on the Michigan ride with us were dealing with a lot of the same issues that we are, and the same questions about our career choices and what we deal with day in and day out. And in our career field, we don't talk enough about it, but I think when we were in that circle, it'd be much easier because it's like, oh wow, he's dealing with a lot of the same issues I have, or like, wow, that guy's he's dealing with things a lot worse than I am, and I thought I had it bad. It's like, wow, he's got some issues due to whatever. So yeah, it was a very powerful time, and it'd be amazing if we could do that on the Unity Tour, like all 350 people, because what we do with the Unity Tour is we meet up with our chapter, we do our ride, and all the other chapters are doing their own separate rides, and we all meet at RFK Stadium outside DC, and then all 3,000 of us get in a 2x2 column and then ride into Washington, DC to the police memorial.
Yeah, well, so the thing is that we always talk about the fact that everybody thinks like everybody's so tough and they can't talk about their private personal issues that are inside of their head and stuff like that. And when we've done the Trooper Talk, it's something that's very important. You know what I mean? Like to be able to open up. And
Yeah,
to have
it is.
and to have someone that is in it's in a private area and is not going to take it and twist your words.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like that's what we found.
Right.
When we've tried to talk about situations like that.
Yeah, and I know prior to COVID, and then especially coming out of COVID, that officer wellness has become a very important thing to the law enforcement communities, and so there are more and more options for police officers, corrections officers, anybody in the law enforcement field, where they can talk. There are resources that have been made available that are available and that we can talk to. So it's always definitely one of those things that we definitely stress where we work. Officer wellness. If you need help, ask for it.
Yeah.
If it's not even through us, if you need to talk to somebody through Metro Peeps, that works, or we've got other opportunities that we're constantly letting our officers know. It's very important for any agency
To be able to have that.
for pretty much anybody. I mean, I think the stigma of mental health is finally getting towards not so much a stigma, that it's, I think, definitely coming out of COVID. I think as a society we've kind of realized that everybody needs a little bit of help, and it's not bad at all to ask for it. It's bad not to ask for the help.
Right, that's the
yeah.
difference, right? It's bad not to ask,
right.
right? So we have to ask.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got to break the stigma, break
yeah.
the barriers of being able to say something and not fear repercussions because you're going through something, because everybody's going to go through it. And if you haven't yet, you will.
Yeah,
And most people already have.
yeah.
And sometimes just because you've gone through it doesn't mean you're going to be a good teacher to support somebody, but maybe you know somebody or in these programs. And that has been huge, because the biggest thing I saw out of COVID is that, this person would have a hard time here and there, this person, but when COVID hit, it was like everybody was having a hard time all at the same time.
Right.
So and it gave a lot of our community members that are able to run these programs and offer this assistance maybe more time to say, hey, we need to figure this out for our specific career. And it's been great, because there was laws introduced saying that the departments have to train officers on it, and every department has gone above and beyond, especially Metro, with their PEEP program that Lieutenant Zink is mentioning, is that they offer that to all agencies. And they're officers just like me and Brian, but they're extensively trained. They're not any different, but you can just sit down with somebody that has probably gone through something like this, but knows how to talk to you about it. And it's not solely for PEEP. We have a chaplain on our department. We have plenty of resources through our insurance.
Social workers, yeah.
Yeah.
Our department
Yeah.
actually has 3 certified social workers that work with our department. Primarily they go out into the community and help our kids, but they're also available for us as well. And then the main thing is that that there are resources available for everyone, and that it's just like we said, just
Because you
talking about
see some good. I mean, not some. You see a lot of good. You know what I mean. But sometimes, unfortunately, like you said, you see bad.
yeah.
And so that's things that we have to de-stress in our mind. you know what
Right,
I'm
there's
saying?
no reason that we have to carry that with us our whole lives anymore. The stigma is being lifted, that it's better to get it off your chest, because it is trauma. It's trauma compounded upon trauma compounded upon trauma that we in the law enforcement community carry, because it is hard your first fatal accident that you roll up on. You never forget that, right? The first child abuse case that you respond to, you never forget that. And the problem is that we keep it inside and we don't have a constructive way to get it out, let it go. And that's what we're stressing in officer wellness, is that for your health, your longevity, you need to get it off, because I mean the average age of a police officer dying after retirement is 5 years. So it's horrifying to think that you work 20, 30 years to get a pension. These are going to be my golden years, and then you die of a heart attack within 5 years, or everything just comes rushing in and you can't deal with it, so you make a bad decision and you possibly hurt yourself. So that's why officer wellness, we've really gone off script and started talking about something completely different.
No, but it is.
It's very important. But it's like officer wellness is very important. So.
And I would say that not only that's what the officer wellness is fantastic, and that's why I love the Unity Tour. And that's why we're big supporters of that, because of the fact that, and that's what I wanted to hear from both of you, which is what we heard, which is that while you're, and it's not a motorcycle, right? You're not riding a motorcycle that has gas.
It'd be a lot nicer.
Right.
Yeah.
It has 2 wheels and you have to pedal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So anybody who's ever ridden a bicycle from point A to point B, as small as it is, knows that you go through these things in your mind.
Oh,
like
yeah.
you said, it doesn't matter if it's good or bad. You're thinking about this and thinking about this, and then there's a rock and you know what I mean? And so that's why the Unity Tour is so important, because that is something that allows
two-wheel
to be able
therapy.
to do that.
Yep.
So, and it's great that you guys go
love
and
it.
get the talking stuff.
Yep.
So we're going to wrap things up, but
Yeah.
here's what I wanted to say to you. I wanted you to look in that camera, and I want you to tell people to please slow down when you see these traffic things. You know what I'm saying? Why don't you stand right here so everybody can see who you are, and just tell them, just please, just slow down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so we're asking our community, not just during the holidays, but all days of the year. If you see the flashing lights at the school zones, you're seeing the flashing lights for construction zones, you're seeing those yellow and red lights on traffic lights, that's the time to hit the brake pedal and slow down. We want everybody to make it through the holidays. We want everybody to get from point A to point B every day. That's from your doorstep to work or to school safely and back home. Because nobody deserves to have an empty seat at the table for holidays or any dinner any other day.
Right.
Sergeant Campbell, thank you very much. Lieutenant Zink,
Yeah.
thank you. I
Thanks,
appreciate
Neil.
it.
Thank you.
And thanks again for tuning into another edition of Trooper Talk. We always end with a wave.